Well, hey there team, and welcome to Stationeers. Hey there guys, and welcome back to the channel. Back to our Stationeers run. I literally just filmed. I recorded. Okay. I recorded 15 minutes of me sitting here trying to, like, in the menu, addressing all of the comments that you guys, like, not a rebuttal. This is something I used to do with my Long Dark footage. Was oh no. Was go over the comments because you make some very good points. But it took me 15 minutes. And at a certain point, I'm just going to be standing there talking, and that's not good. So I'm just going to keep continuing to try and... Oh, there goes all of our sun. Try and juggle. All right, well, we don't have a lot on our grid, so we have to be very careful with that. Why is there... Did I not put a battery in there? Bug. Oh, my God, no. Oh, my God, hang on. Why is that on? 57. Oh, imagine if it just kept shooting out bloody filters. That would have been wonderful. All right, cool. So, in a way, though, talking out and doing my 15 minutes of talking about all your points was helpful. Because it sort of helped me get my head around what I'm going to do. So I'll try and address what everyone has sort of brought up. This is a really interesting one. The water could be the problem causing all the heat, right? Maybe. Because it's out here in the heat. There's not a lot of water. Again, well, I guess we'll just iPad it and find out. 43 degrees. Yeah, that doesn't help, does it? Now, where's this getting all the heat from? Is it purely from the sun, do we reckon? All right. It doesn't go into decimal. Oh, hang on. All right, this is interesting. 8 mole. Wait, I had 9 for a second. Yeah, okay. Real quick, we don't know how much water consumption we're going through, but if I come up here and check it each night, we should be able to get an idea of the increment. It says that it's got 9 mole in that pipe, right? It says that it's got 0.8, which is terrifying, mole in that pipe. But presumably it's got 9 mole. I'll check all those pipes as well. But this is actually, I was going to use this to sort of figure out incrementally how much we go through each day. We might have just done it in time. We'll check tomorrow, because if it's only going to round to 9 mole or whatever, we're not going to really know. But because this goes to decimal inside the pipe, we will. But you can see here that 44.8 degrees. This is probably a big part of our heat problem. There's nothing I can do about this, if you think about it. There's absolutely nothing I can do apart from window. Well, there's one thing I can do. There's one thing I can try. Let's turn this off. Because we were talking about how much sun does the plants actually need to grow. Not certain. Someone suggested put up a window to test it. And I thought about that myself before I read. I woke up the next morning and saw the comment and I was like, oh my God, I thought about that exactly. So what we could potentially do here is do a wall here and a roof there and see if that still gives us enough sunlight to grow the plants. It's a good time to do this experiment now because we do have, like, let's say a potato surplus at the moment. So what I'm going to do is, what will I need for that? I'll need some frames. Am I carrying any of that sort of crap? I'm not. I'm going to need 2... Not frames, sorry. Whatever you want to call them. Wall sections. Wall kits. So let's do that real quick. Oh, I got to do my rounds as well. Wall and 2 plates, or whatever you call them. Iron sheets. Wait, build plastic sheets. I thought I pressed iron. Let's just do this. 1. Do another one. Alright. Iron sheets. Iron... Not frames. I want the other one. Kit wall. Is that just what it is? No, that can't be right. Steel. Wall? Kit iron wall. Look at that. Why is it orange? That's weird. Alright, whatever. Got it. So the water could be a problem. Now, someone wants me to look at the underside of the hydroponics kits from inside the furnace room. We will. Though, I think those pipes are technically outside of it. Like, if they were lower, they'd be cut halfway through, if they were half-half. But that's actually a really good point about what if there's heat coming through there. Which may well be the case. Oh no, please don't. Please don't. So I do appreciate all the feedback, and I do my best to get to it. I don't think you're ever being ignored. I like a lot of people gave me a lot of support around how I cover videos and coverage on the channel. You know, talking about sort of the algorithm and analytics and all that. And I appreciate all of that, because it's good to know that at least some people are on side with me. Alright, so we're going to attempt that. Alright, give it a little bit of a sunshade, and potentially we'll see how the plants grow with just that, with that amount of glass. Worst case scenario, we lose a day's growth. I doubt it's enough to kill them, because all they do is they sort of hibernate by the look of it when they're not growing. Alright, let's do this. Someone was pointing out that you could, you know, use a pressure regulator for all this sort of stuff. 100% agree, but again, priorities. And that's not really... Oh my, come on! Hang on. Oh! Oh, it combined! Oh, well, that's much easier. Okay. Alright. We're going to try one less as well, remember? We were going to cool this room too. Jeez, so many things to do. 4. Now put your potatoes away, Scarlet. Alright. Yeah, look, remember, in my defense, there's a lot going on in my head. Okay, hang on, here we go. So, the plan for me would be, we can, oops, wrong way. We should flush the room first, right? And then reverse it. Right, around about 20. Potentially add a tiny bit of cooling. How's this going to steady out to? Oh yeah, good idea. I hate that warning so much. It makes me cry. Have another potato, mate. Alright. Is that enough pressure, we think? And the temperature's definitely right as well. Potato has no sunlight. Yes, well, as expected. Alright, that's fine. That's fine. So we're only adding tiny little bits of oxygen each time. Like really tiny bits, but we're still adding it. Okay, we should be able to seal up the room. I've got the crowbar in my hand. Cool. Alright, sort of 2 levels of experiment going on there. So our rounds are done for the evening, so that's good. We'll put our crowbar away. While I talk, I will straighten this back up. Alright, so, some really good points made. I suspect I'm getting heat because of the water staying outside, right? Because, again, I don't know how much passive heat you get in these systems, but you guys probably are a little bit more informed, at least some of you. Okay, so we're going to experiment with covering that up. 18 degrees, 4%. Now, the other thing is I haven't directly addressed... See how we have... Forget about the molarity. that's it. 22 mole of CO2 is pretty good. But people pointed out, like, why would you want to bleed off the oxygen? The more atmosphere you have in there, it's going to actually help the cooling process as opposed to hinder it. And that's true, but if I keep putting oxygen directly into the system, and I'm only putting in CO2 every so often, and the amount of CO2 that we draw is not very much, something's going to give eventually, right? We're eventually going to get to a point where we just don't have enough CO2 percentage. I believe that's how the growth works in this game. So we'll get to a point where it will go, no, your plants just don't grow anymore, and then that's it. The whole system will probably just die. So the whole reason for this, I'm not strictly going to run this all the time. The whole idea is to essentially just to get, let's say, have a fixed percentage of oxygen in the air at any given time. That's probably the best way to look at it, or even a fixed molarity, right? So we get to a certain point where the oxygen is over my threshold. I would run the filter, right? And in business as usual sort of thing. So it's not like I'm going to be blasting out all the O2 or anything like that. It was just to sort of maintain a level as sort of hack job. Now, as I say that, I realize what I'm probably going to need is a pass-through with a valve. So we would have a normal pass-through running, and then when it came to siphon off some excess O2, it doesn't just have to be O2, but O2 is what we're putting into the system routinely. So that's why it is. Then you would sort of just close the valve, let it run through the filter system, blast a little bit of this into vacuum, and then open it back up. I hope that makes a little bit more sense. It's not to be run at all times. That's not the plan. Now, what we're just going to really quickly check. 51 degrees. Jeez Louise, right? Why is that? That's warmed up even more, you know? Okay, so look, for the time being, the system's going well. The system's going fine. We have a source of CO2. We have a cooling system per se, and when I say that in broad strokes, we're putting oxygen into the system to cool it, and that's why I was working on the filter system. We can put that on pause for a little bit, right? But that's that. I'm quite happy to hear what you guys, now that I've explained myself a little bit more, I'm happy to hear what you have to say. People are suggesting keeping the oxygen in some way in a tank. I worry about that because it's yet another thing I'll have to supervise, where I keep putting warm oxygen into a tank over and over and over again. That will not go well eventually. Even though I want that as redundancy, I also want this. Wait, what's going on here? Wait, it already has a battery in there, but the battery disappeared? That's weird, isn't it? Maybe that's a known bug. Okay, cool. So that's going to go there. Now, someone pointed out that if you build furniture in a microwave, it is a steel-free process. It's going to turn my potato into from 20% to 80%, which blows my mind. So let's do that. It was called furniture. Kit furniture. What do I need? Iron and copper. Oh, look, I've got enough. Let's do that. How exciting. I love a lot of your suggestions about, you know, sort of like logic kits and, you know, higher automation. Someone pointed out using a pressure regulator for that room. In fact, I would cool all the air in my base when we get to that with a pressure regulator. But also, while I do appreciate that sort of feedback, I would ask that you recognize also that that this has been a case of building on top of a falling building non-stop just to get to a point where we are self-sustaining. So these advanced techniques will come, but one thing at a time. There is a priority order. Now, build a bench. Is that what people want me to do? Build a control chair? Wait, where's is there an option missing? 1, 3, 2. Where's 4? Okay. Build a bench. I think that's what people want me to do. Why would I power this bench? Why? Oh, it's got like power sockets up here. Maybe that's to power this microwave. Alright, so apparently the microwave requires an electronics printer. Oh god, that's not going to clip. And that's... What is the other thing that's in there with it? Oh, it's my tracking beacon. Wait. This is my zero filter? Why is it there? How did it get back there? That's weird. Alright, see ya. Uh-oh. Alright, let's readjust the, See, I get distracted as well, so I'm only human. So we need to build an electronics printer to sort of link up with this, because that will then in turn let us build this doodacky, this microwave. Now, electronics printer is in here. It's funny, because in the old days, I would build all three of these machines straight away, but we haven't really needed it. Like, if anything, imagine being a developer watching me do this, watching me go hard survival mode. And they'll be like, oh, he doesn't really need an electronics printer. Maybe we should change that. You know, maybe we should create a scenario where we need that. We need gold. Good. And the other thing, I'm curious as well. Look, I've looked around and watched other people's videos and that. I mean, I could be missing something, but are people like turning hunger off or something? Like, people making these magnificent bases and that, and I'm like, that's cool, but how'd you go in the beginning with eating? I wonder, are people just downloading crap off of the Steam Workshop or whatever, which to me is the most un-engineering thing you could possibly do. I'm sorry if that upsets some people, but the last thing I would ever do is just place something down like it was, well, not even an IKEA kit, just something off the internet. Someone says, put this down and it will process all your atmosphere and you're good. And I'm like, okay, cool. What happens when one tiny little thing in that system breaks? I can't fix it. I have no idea. It's the same as owning a car but not knowing how to fix it. Now that's modern, that's acceptable in the modern era, but you're not just a car owner in that analogy in this game. You're a bloody space engineer in this, right? It's inexcusable to have equipment that can break down or malfunction. Like, these can burn out if you put too much power through them, and all of a sudden parts of your base stop working and you don't know why or how to fix them or how to even go about troubleshooting it. So I think it's like, I mean it is a video game, but if you want to put yourself in the idea of actually being able to run the base and build it yourself and be proud of it and survive on your own merits, then the worst thing you could ever do is download someone else's design. But that's just my thought. Maybe, I'll tell you what, because I like to devil's advocate, because you got to have a bit of introspection. What if you're not super engineering inclined, right? Like, we're all at different levels of savvy, I suppose. And I'm not the smartest bloke. I just talk a lot. But say you're actually having a hard time getting your head around a concept, like air filtration or something like that. Maybe downloading someone else's system and pulling it apart and scrutinizing it can be used as a learning tool. So I will concede that that could be helpful as well, I suppose. Because learn by doing from first principles is a tough nut for sure. Okay, so I've just made a counter argument against myself. But I still think personally, I wonder how other people survive from the very beginning, or do you just Google it? Because that's another thing. What if you just Google the answer to it? Oh, okay, you know, this spud to that, and this workbench, and this, that, and the other, and then you find yourself on the other end going, oh, well, did I learn anything? Like, really? Did I teach myself anything? Did I even develop as a person? No, I just read an IKEA instruction manual, and now I know nothing. Anyway, I turned into a little bit of a rant, but I think you might take my meaning. And look, if you feel like I've personally attacked you, I haven't. I'm just sort of pointing out why there could be a big flaw in just regurgitating someone else's concepts and ideas, because when it breaks, and it bloody well will, you're going to be stuffed because you don't know what you're doing. Anyway, iron sheet, we'll just need one. Oh, geez, slow down. It cooks them so quick. Yeah, one other thought on that as well. Again, I could be wrong, but like I as a YouTuber, there's a lot of pressure to put yourself out there as well, like this, and I could probably understand if people are reluctant to do that. What I mean is, like, I blew my base up because I put H2 into the system, which is a dickhead move, but I think it might help people seeing that. So, like, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but at the end of the day, I think if you can sort of swallow your pride and put footage of you making dickhead mistakes, which is what I did, perhaps it's actually quite helpful to other people. It just surprises me that you don't see more of that. And then I followed it up with like a bit of introspection. Like, I looked into what happened, where I went wrong, and discussed that. Now, I think that's healthy. I think that's what everyone should be doing. But it's a shame. I mean, if there are other people doing that, let me know. But there is definitely a shortage of coverage of Stationeers, for sure. Welding torch and 2 iron sheets. We're going to need that. Now, you can just do that, right? Oh, no, that switches it. Oh. Okay, that's fine. Anyway, I know that was a little bit of a rant, but I do get a little bit confused. Cable coil. We'll have to go do our rounds in a sec. Did I flatten that out? I did. Look how long the coil takes to make, as opposed to like a steel frame. That's insane. Alright, so what did we talk about? I'm not sure if I mentioned it. Yeah, I think I might have, that the people pointed out that the hydroponic kit could be popping through the bottom. I mean, that's possible. That's definitely possible. Let's just do this while I remember. We'll come back to finishing that in a moment. Alright, rounds time. Let's eat a potato. Wherever I keep that. Alright. We'll go alright with the power warning for the moment. Alright. Now, as I said, I come from a naval background. Like, warships and stuff like that. So doing rounds like this is what I'm used to. Alright. 4% CO2. Okay, that's what it was on before. 17 degrees. We probably should... You should have like a little logbook to write all this stuff in, you know? Alright. Oh. Hang on. Oh, I think my jetpack's struggling. We'll have to check that. That's weird. Alright, 0.8 mole, 9 mole. Alright, so in one cycle, was it 0.9 before? I thought it was 0.8 and 9. Like, I'm getting confused because of the 9 in this number, right? So, our molarity hasn't gone down. 53 degrees. Our temperature has gone up. Because wasn't it around about 40 something? All right, I need to make more of pay more attention to these numbers. 53 degrees. That's troubling. We gave it its little thing. Okay, that's fine. So I wonder how much of it is actually the plants generating heat. It seems like that could actually straight up be it. That's interesting. I would have hoped that would have cooled a little bit. Now you can see in here the plants haven't fully grown. Clear potato, clear potato. And yet, look at our pressure. Pressure's still good. Temperature has only really made a difference of about, what, like 6 degrees? It usually goes up around the 40 mark. Something to that effect. All right? It's a good experiment. I'm glad we've done it. What we've learnt is that even at that sort of... Oh, that's interesting, actually. Oh, I just thought of an idea. We'll talk about that in a moment. But I can't obstruct that window, is what I'm getting at. So we're going to pull down that window outside, and we're going to have to continue with our solution as is. What I was going to suggest, I'll just do this really quickly. See this wall out here? Forget this. Imagine there's no roof there. Or rather, let's just consider the sun exposed to this room. Does it have to be all 3 windows? It looks like it has to be pretty close to it. Close enough. But you could potentially, see this wall, what if we built that 10 units deeper out in the depth, right? So it casts a shadow not dissimilar to a sundial, right? And you could actually, the further out you went, go 10, 20, 30, 100 units, you could change the height of that shadow that it potentially casts back onto this window, and you could incrementally change the amount of window exposure to the sun. Which is to say, I think you could actually fine-tune how much of the sun, or how much of this window is exposed during the day, probably to a really, really precise amount of getting the minimum amount of sun exposure to the maximum growth to get one growth cycle per day. If you don't understand what I'm saying, because then you'd put that wall out there as well. Yeah, right. It's interesting. And I don't know, like, do you know those unwelded frames, the support frames outside that I was using? Do they block a bit of sunlight? Like, do they dirty it up a bit? I mean, it's all physics, so I think they do. So you could potentially build a whole mess of them up here, of iron frames up into the sky, like incrementally each day add more, and check your growth cycle, to create more and more cross shadow patterns that block more and more increments of the sun. That's interesting. Huh. If you think I'm insane, let me know. If you think I'm onto something, also let me know. But okay, so also I apologize. I'm quite crook. I don't whinge about the man flu too much, but someone pointed out they could tell when I was talking, and I was like, oh, bugger. All right, so let's see about draining this room. Turn it the other way. Yeah, see, now we're starting to get at point 21 where whatever cooling in the pipe isn't quite enough. But look at that, that doesn't take much actually. Set inward. We'll let that steady out. Actually, we could probably take some more of the hot air from in there. Yeah. $19 and $18. That's all right. That should hold. That should hold. All right. So at the moment, if you sort of just want to look at brass tacks, geez, I nearly opened that without cycling this. And that's the thing. That's why I don't like all the spinning plates, because I have too much going on. It's taking us about 1 or 2 oxygen little melts out of the 50 block. Like, it's actually, this is a pretty efficient system. I just obviously have to keep doing it manually. CO2's down to 3%, right? Why is there 0.1% X in there? Huh. Now, people pointed out, yes, if I were to run the system as a filter, to filter the X out, but the filtration on the end is not supposed to be an always running filter. It's supposed to be turn it on now and then to stabilize the levels of certain gas types, and that's why it's ultimately an oxygen bleed. Yeah, because I'm not sure. I don't think the plants respond to molarity. I think they actually respond to percentage in the air. I mean, it is a video game at the end of the day. What we're going to do is we're going to check the under sort of carriage in here as was suggested. I think we still have dirty gas in here, don't we? So we don't necessarily want to lose it. Interesting. Look at this. This is interesting. This could actually be the answer to the problem. Because nothing else is poking through, right? Yet our pipes are warm, inexplicably. We put up those walls. So, what if it's the trays that are heating and they're transferring heat into the pipes? That's, how fascinating is that? What are we going to do about that? Well, okay, look, at the moment, our system's still working, right? That's the important thing. We don't seem to be going through too much water. Yeah, look at my jet... Did I change my jetpack settings? I think I must have, actually. Hang on. Was it like this? Yeah. Okay, cool. I accidentally turned my stabilizers off. Yeah, so just really quickly, what I was talking about before... See, these cross sort of girder beam things... They will cast a shadow in there, like an incremental, tiny little fraction of a shadow, which potentially would affect the let's say, like, percentage of exposure to sun that those plants have, right? So what you could ultimately do is you could do the milestone thing I was talking about, the sundial, sort of put a wall out there to block the sunrise a little bit, or you could build a whole bunch of girders around your glass to reduce the amount of sunlight that actually makes it to them, to a point where you have the absolute bare minimum required sunlight to grow the plants, actually making it to the plants, but no more, which would reduce the heat profile as much as physically possible. I would think so. Okay, so I think the undercarriage of the hydroponics is the problem, okay? An interesting problem to have indeed. We're going to probably wrap up in a sec, guys. The filtration thing can go on hold for the moment because we're still holding steady from what I can understand. Alright, moving forward. Let's have a bit of potato. I need to finish that bench over there, but it's not super pressing now that we've come to realise that we're kind of on top of the potato situation. Let's just drop these there. Maintenance is good. The water, we're going to continue to monitor that 0.8 mole and see what happens there. But if that's the case, I don't think we're actually going through water that fast. Those pipes are obviously chock full of it. But if it's only draining a little bit from the sort of... Like, if it didn't even go down 0.1 mole overnight, right? And yet we have 9 mole in each pipe section, presumably, of which there's probably 3 or 4 in there. And then maybe even inside the hydroponics kit as well. That's like at a glance, that's probably like hundreds of days of water, potential. I could be wrong. It could be giving me a false read. But like I said, it didn't even move well, not hundreds of days of water. We'll see when it moves 0.1. It might move 0.1 this next night, which would say it goes down 0.1 every 2 days, right? But that still gives us a lot of water, probably months. But it depends. It could not move down in 10 days, you know? So that'll be interesting to sort of see. Now, the answer to that hydroponics problem, especially in light of the fact that we're not going to need as much potato with this microwave setup, is, get excited, building a new hydroponics room altogether. This one has gone through its life cycle, basically, and it's steady. We'll continue to do the rounds, but ultimately, I might build it like over here or something. We're going to probably look at building a new satellite hydroponics thing, if only to test the bottom undercarriage and see if it's actually being heated from the room, which I suspect is the right thing. So guys, thanks for helping me find that. I would never have seen it. How many times have I looked at that in the corner and never looked up and looked at the bottom of those things? You guys are absolute godsends. Thanks. All right, team. That's probably enough for the moment. Let me know what you think. Any questions as well? If you feel like you're being left behind, because I know there are people there that are sort of just following this for entertainment and they don't know what's going on. They're getting confused. Ask stupid questions. Please do. There's been some more crosstalk in the comments, so maybe not just me will help you, but some of the other guys will help you as well. We're building a little bit of a community here, and it's really quite nice to see. Anyway, team, we might just leave it there for the time being, and I will catch you guys on the next one.